Have you ever considered stuffing your entire life into less than 50 square feet, hitting the road with your travel partner so you can have no fixed address but a revolving view of epic vistas to look at from the comfort of your front step? Well, we've done that, and it's easier dreamed than done. After 2 years of navigating the highs and lows of overland van life, we've learned a lot about the road, each other, and how to keep pushing forward in an unconventional two-wheel drive overland vehicle in some pretty rough terrain. From the northern tip of North America to our upcoming drive to Patagonia, it's been an unforgettable ride. Today, we're answering your questions, from life in tight quarters to the realities of overlanding without four-wheel drive. Let's dive in.
Well, hey there folks, we're the Slow Roamers. My name is Alex.
I'm Meg.
And today we are going to answer your questions. Let's get started.
All right, one of the most commonly asked questions we ever have received.
It's our very favorite question.
Do you ever wish you had 4x4? Are you okay with being stuck with two-wheel drive? Do you have plans to swap to 4x4? Or are there any improvements that you wish you had made earlier?
Okay, yes, 100%. I wish quite often that we had 4x4 in the van. And I know that I preach two-wheel drive off-roading a lot, and that is strictly to kind of deliver the message to people that you can still go out and have a really good time off-roading your vehicle with two-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive is not the end-all be-all of all adventures. I think that people put such a high emphasis on four-wheel drive and believe that they can't get out and do the kind of stuff that we do if they have two-wheel drive. Yes, we are definitely okay with being stuck with two-wheel drive. For the time being, you know, one day we'll probably have a four-wheel drive vehicle. That'll be great, but Betty will get us down the Pan American Highway just fine. There's lots of people that go and explore and do a lot of back roads and off-roading with a two-wheel drive vehicle, and we're prepared well enough that if we get stuck or into a slightly sticky situation, we for the most part can self-recover, and I think we've proven that before.
That's the most important thing, is having the ability to self-recover and also having some experience in off-road conditions.
Yes,
definitely
100%.
We don't discount that Alex is an experienced 4x4 driver, which helps us a lot. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't get the van into as many situations as Alex would. So knowing your ability is also very important.
Plans to swap the van to four-wheel drive? No. We made that clear quite a while ago that we're not going to do a four-wheel drive swap on the van. It's just too cost prohibitive. And honestly, we would rather spend the money on travel, on food, on experience instead of just stuff. And
or other stuff for the van.
Yeah, yeah, or other stuff for the van. But the way that we have it set up with the locker, the clearance, and the good tires, we make it to everywhere that we need to go, and 99% of the places we want to go. Any improvements that you wish you made earlier? No, honestly, like everything kind of came at the right time.
We did a shakedown trip in the first version of the van that we traveled in together. Over the course of 6 months, figured out what we would have done differently, and we changed those immediately after the 6 months of travel. Like, we totally gutted the van and rebuilt it. And then in this latest version of the van, since we had so much experience living in it and traveling in it and knew what upgrades we wanted to make and then made those upgrades, we have no regrets. It's perfect.
No regrets, bro. Okay, next question. What cooking appliances does Meg use?
I've got a double burner propane stove that I do all of my cooking on. And then in terms of appliances, I've got 2 pots, a small one and a big one, a cast iron pan, and my Omnia oven, which is what I do all of my baking in. That's it.
That's
a whisk, cheese grater, I don't know.
Some magical fairy dust.
Does Alex have a language arts degree?
No, I definitely don't have a language arts degree. I flunked out of university didn't flunk. I left university 3rd year in. I did take a minor in writing though, and have always enjoyed writing. Perhaps have kind of like a natural talent for it.
We call Alex a vulner boy. He's very in touch with his feelings and he's very introspective. And I think that is really how he is able to like cultivate the voiceovers.
Yeah, totally.
Vulner boy. Cry, cry.
How often do we get to see family and friends?
Till now, we've essentially gone through our home base, which is my family's in North Vancouver. Alex's family is between Chilliwack and Quadra Island. We have been able to see them twice a year up until now. And we also spent a whole summer on Quadra rebuilding the van. Now that we are traveling south on the Pan Am, we likely won't get home during the whole 18 months-ish that we're on the Pan Am. So yeah, it's gonna be a big chunk of time without seeing family and friends, unless of course they fly down and visit us.
So that's gonna be a long time. I think it's gonna be a challenge, but you know, you gotta make some sacrifices somewhere.
What's your favorite color? What is the average airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
Favorite color is yellow as of today.
Yellow.
Yeah.
Oh, so surprising. Mine's green.
Well, that depends. Is it an average barn swallow or is it an African swallow?
I don't
know the exact quote, but I know you're talking about Monty Python. What is your idea of a perfect day?
My idea of a perfect day is to have a super slow morning and enjoy one or more hot beverages, have a really good breakfast, go on a long hike, come back to the van and wind down together, have something good to eat, maybe watch a fun movie.
I have two versions of a perfect day. One is when we're doing activity and one is basically when we're not. So perfect day with no activity is just like waking up nice and slow, having really good coffee, preferably on a lake or river, midsummer, a nice leisurely swim during the day, and yeah, lots of good food, you know, just hangout time. And then activity day is like going out and doing a really awesome like off-road trail or something like that. Like the Talquah Pass, I had a ton of fun on that road. That was so sweet. Every minute of that, it was like stressful and it was hot and I was sweating like crazy, but I was like totally in my element. And yeah, that was like the perfect day for me, to be quite honest.
Not for me.
Not for her. You had fun.
Do you fish or hunt on your Canadian trips?
No, I don't. Fishing has never really interested me and I've just never been exposed to hunting. Now, I would like to partake in both at some point in my life. I think perhaps one day, you know, when we're back in BC, I would love to start fishing, and I think I would really like to start hunting.
He must, really. I mean, I think I'll get there eventually as well. Like the act of fishing and hunting is like really quite hard for me to imagine myself doing at this stage, just because I am obsessed with all the animals and it's just heartbreaking to think about killing anything. However, when we have a property one day, I want to get like as close to living off the land and being self-sufficient as possible. And with that comes hunting and fishing. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that is the most sustainable way to consume meat. So I think when we get there, that's going to be really fulfilling and satisfying. Alex has to catch me a fish while we're living in the van also.
Right. Who does Betty belong to?
That is me.
Yep.
I owned Betty first before I met Alex, and my name is still on the title because it's just, well, my name is on the title because we looked into it because Alex has a better insurance premium than I do. So we looked into switching it, but it requires a sale. So we'd have to pay taxes, which doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know how that works once we're married, like if we can both be on the title since we're married.
Yeah, I think so.
Do we have a date to get married, before or after the trip?
Well, seeing as this video is likely going to come out far later than when we are recording it today, we will already be married. So we plan on getting married in Vancouver when we're back and having just a very, very small like family celebration. We're just gonna get married by our friend's mom, and who's an officiant. And
Commissioner.
yeah, it's going to be very, very small. I wanted to get married before we went down on Pan Am, just otherwise we'd be engaged for like 2 years in school.
And since we want to quickly elope with just a couple of people and have really low-key celebrations, it's really easy for us to just go home and get married like day of. Whereas if we wanted a wedding, that would be a different story. Neither of us has ever been interested in having another wedding, so this is going to be easy and cheap and relaxed.
Do we ever come to Eastern Canada or Northern Ontario?
No, we never have, and we have no idea if we will in the near future, because we had plans to visit that part of the country and the east coast of the US on our way home from the Pan Am, but we changed our plans a little bit, and ideally we'll sell Betty in Argentina, so we won't have the chance to go fly out to pick her up at the port and drive across country. However, if we don't sell Betty in Argentina, then we probably will see the east coast of North America.
Yeah.
What did you do for a living before van life and YouTube?
For like 10 years, I lived and worked on a farm in Alberta. I ran equipment, handled livestock, which was bison, and yeah, we just worked the fields all summer long, and then usually jetted off down south during the winters. When Meg and I met, I had a very small, I was kind of starting out a very small van building business. Just during that time, I had started a YouTube channel, and I was pretty clear with Meg when we first met that I was doing the YouTube channel and I was going to kind of chase it down and make that my thing. Yeah, that's my story pretty much.
I went to school for business. After I graduated, I started my career in tech, specifically software as a service, and I was eventually a customer success manager for these software companies, working remotely, which was great, but I pretty quickly grew tired of the 9-to-5 grind, sitting behind a computer screen all day long. And so I left my career essentially to chase down seasonal work while I would take the off seasons of work to travel. I started out with a Dodge Caravan and then graduated to Betty. And so I was traveling for 4 months of the year and working for 8 months of the year, just doing odd jobs. I was a dog walker and a landscaper for the most part during those years. And I was a dog walker when I met Alex.
What issues as a couple do you deal with? What are your tips for maintaining a great relationship from each of you?
Do you want to go ahead?
I can't remember my answer. There's a lot of tips.
So I think my main tip would be to deal with any issues or any small annoyances, anything that you're unsatisfied with, immediately when it happens. If you can, take those conversations outside of the van. We hash a lot of stuff out on hikes, for example.
Yeah, and I think that for both of us, we are exercising the practice of putting space between the stimulus, which would be something that irritates you about your partner, and your response, because reacting is usually just inflammatory and it's going to make it worse. And so having a calm and collected response is far better a way to approach your partner with an issue, instead of just being like, you did this and it made me mad and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, we're trying to do that right now. And the issues that we typically deal with are your common misunderstanding. Yeah, miscommunication, misunderstanding. So Meg will say something and I'll interpret it the way that I interpret it, and that chafes me, and vice versa. And that's 99% of our arguments or fights.
Just arguing about the way we said something.
Yeah, and it's usually like the most stupid little thing.
Or like our recollection of something was different.
Yeah. And of course, like while we're talking about it, we're usually hungry, tired, or stressed out, and it just erupts into far more than it ever needed to be.
When does Meg get a cooking channel?
So this is something that we are working on. However, we both work part-time jobs on top of YouTube, and YouTube itself is a full-time job. There's just not enough time in the week to make a cooking channel right now. I think when we get to a size where YouTube income
can replace our side jobs.
Yeah, then we will
have a bit more time to devote to some kind of a cooking channel.
Yeah, at least we hope so.
Yeah.
But probably we're gonna do like midweek stuff, so like Tuesday or Wednesday.
We'll do like a short video release, like whether it's a cooking video or like if we're like working with a brand or something like that.
So it's gonna happen, and a lot of people have also been asking about a cookbook. That is probably coming to
one day.
Yeah, same answer.
Years away. Yeah, I don't know. The other thing that most people don't recognize is how difficult it is to film my cooking process in the van. Like, it's nearly impossible for me to film myself because it's just so hard to wield the big camera in such a small space. Obviously, cooking is time sensitive, and yeah, setting up shots is just, it's a wild task for me. And then Alex is so busy right now that every minute he gets, he's dedicating to editing YouTube videos. So that means when I'm cooking, Alex is editing, so.
And even if I'm trying to get shots of her like while she's cooking, I'm like this. Like, hey, I got this camera.
And I'm like this.
So it's a challenge, and we haven't quite figured out how to do it yet.
Yeah. One day.
Do we have a bucket list, and what's on it? Well, yes, the Pan American Highway is on our bucket list, amongst a few other things. I would say for me, bucket list would probably be to own a cabin in the woods, have a plane that I could fly to that cabin with, and then just to like, I don't know, live a fulfilling life, I guess. Like, that's my bucket list. My gosh, that sounded so cliche.
I've been traveling since I was quite young, like 20 years old, traveling the world. And so something that's always been on my bucket list is to visit every continent in the world. We'll see if we do that. Yeah, kind of echoing Alex, like I haven't always dreamed of this, but probably for the last 10 or so years, I've dreamed of owning a property and having a massive garden to feed us, so that's on the list. If we did another van build, would it be bigger, taller, and have a full shower?
No, actually.
Taller?
Well, okay, yeah, I guess like...
If we did another build, hypothetically, Alex would be able to stand.
Yeah, but in terms of wheelbase, I wouldn't want
anything bigger,
anything longer wheelbase, just because it diminishes your capabilities off-road. Full standing shower inside, no.
Definitely not a priority for us. We'll never have the type of water capacity to support showering, and that's just not important to either one of us. Like, we're totally happy to be dirtbags and only shower every 10 days.
Yep, sometimes 14.
Or swim. Yeah, like if there's water around, we just swim.
Yeah.
You guys know. You've seen us bathe in cold water.
You've heard me shriek many times. When and where are you purchasing land?
We're to be determined. We kind of used this trip through BC and Northern Canada to like scout some options that we're interested in. It will 100% be in Canada and either in BC or the Yukon. We just don't know anything more than that yet.
And we're leaning hard towards north right now.
Just like, it's still so wild. There's not very many people, and it is definitely more in line with our budget. Like, considering like Vancouver Island, for example, or more southern BC is like, we just want to buy some land outright, essentially, so it has to come in at the right price, and the further north you go, the more manageable that is.
Yeah, and we're kind of aiming for like somewhere within 2 hours of a major population center.
How do you plan to tackle the Dakar Gap?
Well, that one is really simple. We're just gonna drive it. We're gonna be the first two-wheel drive van to drive across the Dakar Gap. It's gonna be awesome. No, we're gonna ship it. There's pretty much no other choice but to ship the van across the Dakar Gap. Now, the reason we chose this medium top when we did the high top conversion is because we want to be able to stick it into a container, because we've kind of just heard a lot of questionable things about row, which is roll on, roll off, and we just don't want anyone else driving our van. So if we can stick it into a container, that's ideal. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. And it's unfortunately probably gonna be one of the most expensive
parts of our trip.
Yeah, it's like
just shipping the van around is, yeah,
$4,000 or $5,000 US, I think.
That's why we want to sell it down in Argentina, to avoid having to ship it back, and yeah, all the complications that come along with that.
If we get to South America and any of you decide you want to do the Pan American Highway going up, let us know. We might have a van for you.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a van for you.
How often do you need to make a supply run?
So probably our most limiting factor is our water storage. So we can go 10-ish days on our 60 liters that we carry around. So that's probably like the absolute max. Now, we do have a filtration system, so we can fill out of clean rivers. I think that's the only thing we would ever fill.
We have definitely done that before.
Never in a pinch. Like we've only ever done it just because it looked like such a nice water source. We've never like had an emergency situation where we run out of water and had to get water. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that's very possible in so many parts of the world. Like there's not, like in Canada, obviously, yes, when you're near rivers, but yeah, other than that. So I would say every 10 days is pretty much our max. I do not like getting close to the end of my food rations. I do not like going without fresh veggies and like fresh greens and fruit. So although we could probably survive for a month or more with the food in the van, like our dry storage, I just am not the type of person that wants to do that. So we generally try and hit some kind of a grocery store to resupply every week or 10 days. Is it just solar, or do you have a generator?
It is strictly solar and DC-DC charger. We don't like generators and don't want to carry a generator, nor do we want to carry
extra fuel.
We just want to carry extra fuel for the van, and that is it. No generator for us. We get that question a lot, actually. Yeah, I mean, like we did have some electrical issues earlier this summer, which just turned out to be an alternator. Aside from that, we've never really had
power issues.
Yeah.
But that would be like the other. It's not a resupply, but the other reason why we have to move is if our battery is getting really low and there's no sun to charge, that forces us to drive to the next spot.
And we are making efforts to address that. We'll probably get a little bit more battery storage. Like I need to change my computer because it consumes way too much power. How does Meg come up with all of these recipes? Is it a family secret? Is she a trained chef?
No, definitely not family secrets, and I am not a trained chef. So when I was younger, I was obsessed with the Food Channel for whatever reason, and would just binge Food Channel when I was like in my teen years. And I think I learned a lot from that, and just having to be somewhat self-sufficient in my household because my mom and my dad didn't cook a ton. Since then, Instagram is probably like my biggest source of inspiration. Just the amount of quality food content creators out there. That's sort of where I get ideas, and then I work with what we have in the van. What's the plan after Betty?
So this is a question that the answer is reserved strictly for our patrons. So I'll just take this moment to officially announce that we have hard launched our Patreon page. And this is a way, in the event that you want to support us in some kind of way, that you can do so. We don't have a tiered system in the sense that like you get benefits, just like if you want to support us, you know, you have 3 choices and whatever. 3
choices of dollar amounts, but we offer the same thing to each tier. And it's really just like a behind the scenes, real-time updates. We're sharing our camp spots on there. We're sharing recipes on there. Yeah.
And we are also sharing the answer to that question.
Yeah, yeah.
So that question will be answered, obviously.
Eventually. But
a long ways down the road.
Yeah, a long ways.
What spares do you carry for Betty? Plans for a future rig?
I'm gonna let Alex answer this one.
So the future rig question is another one that is just going to be answered on our Patreon.
For now.
As for the what we carry for spares,
Every single part in the van, we're bringing it down the Pan Am with us.
no. So we've already replaced almost all of the secondary parts in Betty already, but we will be carrying a new starter, upper and lower ball joints, inner and outer tie rods, and a spare wheel bearing, spare rear wheel bearing, and 2 U-joints, and probably like 2 extra serpentine belts. That is it. I would like to carry more, but it's just one of those things that, you know, I don't want to be a rolling parts store. So I think
I do.
I'm carrying the parts that are likely to wear out the quickest. Also spare brake pads, yes, because you definitely need that in South America. From everyone that we've talked to, they're all like, bring spare brake pads.
Multiple
Multiple
sets. What are your pantry staples? It's pretty boring. It's like, I think it's pretty much what you would have as your pantry staples at home. I've really shoved extra food into every nook and cranny of the van. So I would say I have much more food storage in the van than you think. So I can carry like multiple kilograms of flour and sugar and oats and multiple liters of oil and like soy milk, like the protein powder, the things we rely on that don't go bad, I literally stuff the van full of. Not all the time. Obviously it's a little different being like around major cities in Canada and the US. Like there's not as much of a like doomsday, what am I looking for? Like a prepper mentality. But definitely like when we leave the US, the van will be full to the brim of like all of the things that I love from home that don't go bad. Lots of beans, lots of pasta, you know. Some
people have mentioned the fact that they think Meg has food anxiety.
They don't think, they know.
They know. How big are our wardrobes? Quick answer, not very big. I have a section of cabinets about yay long by that big, and then a little bit of cabinet space at the back section of the cabinets, and then we have a stand-up closet, and I think we both have maybe 3 pairs of shoes. Meg, a little bit more than that. Yeah.
I actually carry around like way too many clothes. I definitely don't need to have all these clothes with me. I'm realizing that. However, as all the ladies know, it's just nice to have the things you think you might need for like almost any situation. So that's like my surplus that I have in the van. I probably have double the amount of clothes storage that Alex has because I have an extra little like storage nook right beside our bed along with the upper cabinet. I'm not gonna bring less clothes on the Pan Am. My clothes storage will remain full to the brim.
Always. Yeah, I'm definitely the type of person that I don't mind living in the same clothes for a very long period of time. If you have watched our Dempster Highway video, you'll notice that I was wearing the same pants, the same t-shirt, and the same like hoodie basically for the full 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It didn't change. And
I'm basically the same way, but
not
it's
the
like,
level I am.
But it's like what if? Like what if I'm on a beach in Mexico and I need my white linen button up?
Yeah. What if?
What's your why?
What's my why? Here, this is why. Yeah, I mean, I think that why was answered in the channel intro that we just did. We just want to be at the end of our life and look back and say we did the things. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that we're both pretty like minimalist type people. We don't need much and we're comfortable with very little and in a really small space. We both came into this relationship already living in a rig for some amount of time. So this just made sense for us, and we both have like a pretty itchy feet and thirst for wanderlust, and we just want to see the world, experience different food and culture, and do it all living outside in beautiful places where our front porch is like a rotating epic nature scene. Like, it sounds like a dream to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you manage your fuel when going remote? What's your fuel range? Are there plenty of gas stations? I'll answer this question. General rule, which I don't always follow. If you've watched again our Dempster video, you'll know that I don't always follow this rule, but fill up whenever you can. And I think that applies hugely to when you're in remote locations. What we carry extra is 30 liters extra fuel. So we have a 10 liter and a 20 liter. I only fill the 20 liter and put it on a different location on our back bumper, obviously when it's full and we need extra range. And we know for a fact that that gets us 786 kilometers at 12 miles per gallon.
Unless, of course, you're on the Canal Road, which
Yeah.
you'll see in
Which
you'll have already watched.
Yeah, and you'll know that, what is it, 118, so it was like roughly 138, 140 liters of fuel only got us like 500 kilometers on the Canal Road. So that was brutal.
And a shock.
Yeah. In terms of gas stations, like up north, yeah, there's tons of gas stations. They are a little bit more few and far between than if you're in the lower 48 or down in like kind of southern Canada. But for the most part, they're, I want to say, every 200 kilometers, predictably.
Yeah, we just use Google and Gas Buddy. When we know we're sort of like out there in a less populated area, I just make sure to keep an eye on like where gas stations are and where we might have a chance to fill up, or like if I'm looking at our trip and notice that there's no gas stations, like just make sure we have enough fuel. It hasn't been a problem up here. We'll see what happens down in South America.
Yeah.
Do you ever switch roles? Meg drives and Alex cooks.
Hard no.
Well, I do drive when Alex is flying the drone.
And I cook never.
Yeah, otherwise I don't drive. Alex is really uncomfortable in the passenger seat because his head hits the roof, and he also gets extremely car sick. So it really doesn't make sense for him to drive, and I am so happy being a passenger princess.
I'm very happy driving. As I've mentioned before, like I was a professional driver for 10 years, drove truck on the farm, and I just like being in the seat. It keeps my mind occupied, and so yeah, I'm totally fine just driving all the time.
Yeah, and Alex never cooks.
I
never
can't
ever
fit in
ever
the kitchen.
Never ever cooks. Yeah, one, he can't stand in the van, and all of the cooking is standing height because I stand to cook. So it's really uncomfortable for Alex to cook because he's like has to do the head tilt, the 90-degree head tilt to stand, and he just doesn't know where anything is in our pantry. Not one thing. Even if I told him, it would be in one out ear, out the other. And I'm also a little bit of a control freak in my domain, which is the kitchen. Everything has a place, and I have a way of doing everything to minimize mess. And I know that even if Alex was being so nice and cooked me something when I asked, I'd probably be clawing my way in trying to micromanage because he'd be making too much of a mess or something. So
there's your answer for that one. Okay. Top 5 favorite camp spots. We discussed this a little while ago, and I can't remember exactly what they all were.
Definitely the spot on the top of that mountain in the Richardson Range.
Richardson Range on the
Dempster.
Highway.
Yeah, that is definitely one.
Yeah.
There's a campsite in Utah that overlooks Monument Valley. That one, another top.
Yeah, and you're sitting right on the cliff. That was really epic. Love that spot. The spot that we had at the Salmon Glacier.
Oh yes,
we stayed there for 4 or 5 days, and it was just, unbelievable. Should have gone up with more water and food, honestly.
Totally.
Yeah.
Any spots in Baja?
Yeah, there's a few spots in Baja. We're not going to name them, unfortunately, because we kind of make a point of, especially in Baja, not naming different areas because Baja is exploding. Yeah, we're just going to be the people that gatekeep.
I think one of my favorites in the US was Owyhee Canyon in Oregon.
Yeah.
That was really, really cool.
Yeah, we went to that spot. When we first met, we did a 2.5-week trip in my Toyota pickup, Thomas. And yeah, we went down to the Owyhee Canyon and stayed at some hot springs there, and that was
really cool, like a Fern Gully type experience.
Yeah.
And actually in that area, the Alvord Desert was really cool.
Yeah.
That we also
Desert
went to
radical.
with the truck.
That's not like camp spot. It's Camp Lake.
How much can you make at 50K, 100K, 500K with YouTube? Does YouTube take a cut of other revenue like Patreon or merch sales?
So quick answer is we have no idea because we're not at 50K yet.
Yeah. The other thing is that it's like kind of a weird question. We talked about this with other YouTube creators. I get that people are very curious because it's like a way to earn money that is completely outside of the norm, and like what people's concept of like a salary is. So I understand the curiosity, but like, would you go up to a stranger on the street and ask them what their salary was? Probably not. The other part of the question, YouTube doesn't take a cut of other income streams like Patreon or merch sales, but whatever platform, essentially whatever platform you're using for these websites, they take a cut. So like Patreon takes a cut.
YouTube takes a cut as well. Like if you ever send like super likes or like little donations through YouTube, they take a fairly high percentage.
Yeah, and then like same with merch, like anywhere you're hosting your merch takes a cut, unless of course you're managing and distributing your own merchandise, which we won't do. We've got some merch coming in the pipeline and we're using a service for it, so they take a cut.
Yeah. So I will say quickly though that with Meg's answers aside, YouTube is a full-time job if you're going to be successful at it, and I don't suggest it to people if you're looking to make money. I mean, it's a
for the 1%, sure.
Yeah.
The top 1% of YouTube creators, sure, they're earning a good amount of money and it's feasible for them to live. But for us, like we've been doing this for 2.5 years and we have earned like, I don't know, anywhere from like 5% of a couple's normal income to like now maybe we're making like 35% of our earning potential as a couple on YouTube. So it's like, it's
something that has the potential to do really well, but you have to put the work in. You have to be passionate about it and you have to be totally okay just being a starving artist. And I knew that my years as a starving artist were gonna come when I finally decided and figured out exactly what I was gonna do. We're in the starving artist time frame.
Only reason it's possible is because our costs are so low living in the van, and because we're hustling on the side with other jobs and other ways to earn money.
And also that being said, being up north this summer like sucked us dry.
Yeah, so expensive.
It was brutal. Okay.
Last question.
How come Meg has less commentary than in earlier videos?
At one point, I was doing half of voiceovers with Alex, and we just got to a place where it was really slowing down the workflow and making the video creation process less efficient for Alex. And so I took a step back from doing any voiceover. And now that I have taken a step back, I can see how valuable it is to have a consistent voice throughout our films, because they are more cinematic films that tell a story. And I do think that it makes a difference having that one consistent voice. But we have been thinking about it, like since we got this question and a little bit before, like thinking about a seamless way that we could integrate my voice into the commentary a little bit more. So yeah, we'll see about that. And then also like, I don't know if you're referencing just like commentary in video. Alex is super good at being in front of the camera and I am still very much a work in progress. So I think like with each passing month, I have more FaceTime in our videos, and I think that will naturally just grow with us.
Yeah, and like with everything, I'm always testing new things, new ideas, and when we first started doing voiceovers, that was a test to see if that worked for us. And then, I had Meg doing that. And then it was like, well, let's test both of us. And then let's test just me. And we find what works best and we go there. And then we can return to something later and figure out if it works as we gain more experience and hone our craft and stuff like that. So yeah, so that is all of the questions that all of you have asked. Thank you so much for participating in this, and if you've made it this far, thank you for making it this far, and I hope that over the next year and a half Our adventures are exciting enough for you to stick around and get to know us a little bit better. And we really appreciate all of you guys who sit down every week to join us for a sliver of time as we adventure through the Americas. Keep on roaming, I guess.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Later.